Hello, Craig. This is the Unbiased Opinion. It's just Craig and I this week. We're
When you
going to
say
be.
hello, Craig, are you talking to the audience? Because it sounds like you're talking to the audience.
I'm talking to you, talking to the audience. Don't interrupt. Trying to
Oh,
do different openings, Craig. So we don't have the other guy Dan with us this week, and we're going to be continuing our MCU-a-thon. And the last one we did was Iron Man 2. So now we're going to be doing the first Thor movie, which did come out in 2011. It was hinted at the end of Iron Man 2. That was the end credit scene, was showing Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. So now we have the first Thor movie. And Craig, what do you think of Thor when you watched it or rewatched it?
I remember liking it a lot when it came out, and now coming back, I think I like it a little less now. Not as enjoyable, I guess, on the
Yeah,
whatever
it
10 plus year coming back to it.
I know it's crazy. It came out 14 years ago.
I
I
remember
agree.
going to the theater to see it, and
Yeah, I agree though. I think I remember distinctively when it came out on DVD and I rewatched it. I fell asleep rewatching it, but that was all those years ago. And yeah, I think this is one that not that didn't age well, but I think it's okay. It's good, not great. It falls in line with the Hulk movie, which looking back, I think the Hulk movie kind of got overhated a little bit. It's not amazing, but I think it's better than Iron Man 2 and it is comparable to this, honestly.
well, I think the biggest issue is, I guess, the direction they took, at least for me.
With Hulk or this?
This movie.
What direction are you talking about?
Oh, I guess we'll get to it in a bit, but I mean, because again, it's not like they have a bad cast. I don't think the story's atrocious. I just think some of the directions they took kind of, kneecap themselves.
Okay, so let's talk about stuff we like, and then we'll dive into what you think they kneecap themselves with. Obviously, I think the cast is good. There's an alternate universe, Craig, where Tom Hiddleston, everyone knows he famously auditioned for Thor, and he didn't get the part, and I just can't imagine him being Thor. So Chris Hemsworth is good.
I can't either, but it's not like he didn't luck out. He got to play Loki for just as long,
A
so
decade, yeah. It looks like in this movie, Chris Hemsworth has his eyebrows dyed.
yeah,
It
he
was
did.
very,
They did
yeah.
dye it.
His beard too is very distracting.
I remember they said it because I think was it the Avengers or Thor 2, they made a point to say, yeah, we'd make him dye his eyebrows again.
Yeah, it was really. It's a very minute thing, but it's just distracting. Honestly, it looks like it's not even real. It looks like a paste on kind of beard. This is a an obscure reference. Do you remember Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs? In the beginning,
Yes.
when the big meatball cloud is coming, and they just have that one guy looking, he turns and he takes off his fake beard. It looks like that, an adhesive.
Calling his obscure references.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it's not boring per se. I think some of it drags, but it's not boring. Not unwatchable. I thought it's serviceable, I think is the good word I'm looking for.
Because this definitely felt like that some of the directions they took, that's why I feel like it hurt themselves because it's more boring because they couldn't make things more fantastical. It was just a little too realistic for a movie about Norse gods and, all these fantastical creatures that should be in the movie. Instead, it takes place in boring New Mexico with
Yeah,
boring scientists.
boring Jane Foster. All the Asgard stuff is fine, but yeah, when they're in New Mexico, that's when the movie just drags. And unfortunately, that's
Majority of the movie.
yeah, majority middle, especially the middle half of the movie. It does drag a bit. And I think I was telling you this off the podcast, but I didn't really like the aesthetic of Asgard. I know you said it's more comic accurate, but this is Colin again talking about Marvelton Alliance. I like the aesthetic of Asgard in Marvelton Alliance. It looks like a giant Viking world in space, and I love it. It's great.
I agree too. I know Thor is technically like their version of Thor is a comic character, but I like more when they lean into the mythological stuff because that's unique to Thor. You could only Thor can deal with these threats, have these kinds of side characters, adventures. When you make him just like a boring alien, I feel like you really strip what makes Thor special and just why even call him Thor at this point?
Yeah, what makes him so unique is that he is of mythology,
Come to
and
life.
yeah, and he has all these great things you could pull from. He is a literal god. That isn't us overemphasizing something. He's a literal god. And then they kind of just strip him down in this one a little bit, where
Because I
they neuter him a little bit. Not just the character, but just like the vast source material they could take. They kind of neuter it.
Because I remember when they were talking about the production of this, they were saying, or at least I think production of the Avengers, how they wanted to get Thor into the Avengers. Obviously, the other characters are kind of more quote unquote realistic. Obviously, it's comic book stuff, but Hulk gets a scientific experiment gone wrong. Cap's a science experiment. Iron Man has a scientific suit of armor.
And you have two assassins.
Well, at least the original Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was
Oh, yeah, yeah.
quote unquote science. And then you have Thor, who's a literal god, come to life. So instead of just having Thor be the odd man out with his fantastical mythological origin, they just make him a boring alien. Everything had to be explained by science. Oh, it's not this magical rainbow bridge. It's actually this Einstein-Rosen bridge that makes portals. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. It seemed like they just wanted to over explain things that, as you said, are just magic. It's in the mythology, the Rainbow Bridge and the Bifrost.
To me, it makes it a lot less special. And that's why I think the movie, like I said, drags. It can be a bit boring and doesn't really take advantage of the stuff it should have. Like,
Yes.
how does science explain this magical suit of armor that's indestructible and can like kill people with a beam coming from its face? How does science explain that? You can't.
Oh,
It's a
it's
movie.
magnetism.
Magnets rule. And it bothered me more, not as much back in the day because
You're
at the
just happy
time,
to see a live action Thor back then.
yes, now I'm old and grumpy and spoiled, so I am not as lenient now.
I totally agree. I wish they definitely leaned more into the Norse mythology of Thor, and it was more magical, not Disney magical, but just more. Yeah, you don't have to explain everything. The Bifrost, it's some giant scientific term. I
And
don't. Yeah, you go.
we are correct on this because Marvel course corrected so hard. They kind of doubled down for Thor: The Dark World. I know we're looking ahead, but they doubled down on the Dark World, and then for Thor: Ragnarok, it was a complete 180. Like, you know what? Let's go lean into more of the magical stuff. That's what people like for Thor. We already have the Guardians, we already have Doctor Strange. Let's just go full magic, and it's been so much better. Well, I take that back. For
And
Thor:
then Thor:
Ragnarok, it
Love
was
and
better.
Thunder did a 180 on Ragnarok.
I mean, again, it doubled down on Ragnarok, but they just made it bad.
I agree. I also don't really like the costumes in this. The leathery pants for everybody. I'm used to Thor's iconic comic book design,
He needs to be
where
sleeveless.
the sleeveless red cape with the metal helmet. Obviously, you could mute some of the bright colors. That's what Marvel
No.
Alliance 2 did. They kind of muted some of it where it's not super bright, but the design of Marvel Alliance 2 is realistic, quote unquote. And I'll show pictures too. You could translate that costume to real life, and I don't really like this one. It's
Well,
not Thor. It doesn't feel like Thor. I'm
yeah,
used
they
to the
definitely.
helmet, the winged helmet. I'm used to.
Well, this is what we often rag on actors, and the actor was it Chris Hemsworth? He complained, "Oh, the helmet's too heavy." Suck it up. You're being paid so much money. You can't. Loki wears his stupid helmet.
That thing's worse to wear.
It's like, oh, it's a little uncomfortable. Oh, I have to wear a wig. I have to wear a helmet. Oh, boo hoo. Like, you're
Yeah,
not gonna get sympathy from the common man because you
you're
have to wear
getting
a helmet.
paid so much money to do that.
Yeah,
Imagine this is not a tangent, but the guy who played Vision, Paul Bettany, did not complain once about the prosthetics and makeup he had to go through to just do that because they had to paint his face, his hands. He had to wear like a very heavy suit, and then they put cooling units into it. That man did not complain once. He just said he was grateful for the opportunity to be playing a superhero.
get tons of money.
Be like Paul Bettany, where you're very fortunate to be in that position where you're making lots of money and you get to play a superhero. Wear the helmet. Like it makes doesn't matter. Just wear the helmet.
I don't get the complaining. They're just spoiled actors. They're going to get sympathy from the common man. I give you no sympathy. In fact, I like extract sympathy from you. That's how much upset I am. Like siphoning it from him.
So I remember when this came out, and I was shocked by the decision to when they killed Laufey because in the Thor universe, he is kind of a big figure. But obviously, knowing what we know now, they never really went back to like an Asgard kind of villain. I remember at the time I was kind of shocked, like, wow,
Except
that.
Surtur, but
Well, yeah, besides Surtur, but he wasn't really the main villain. He was just kind of in the background.
true.
But
But that's the only other thing we got.
yeah, yeah. But I was just like, wow, they really just killed off Laufey. They're in the, I believe in the comics. Ironically, Daniel's not here, but he's the biggest Thor fan out of all of us.
He's our Thor expert.
But isn't don't they usually clash Odin and Laufey in the comics? To my knowledge,
I thought it was Ymir, but
Ymir. Okay, yeah, he was also in Marvel 10 Lines.
yes, that's why I know you know him. But yeah, he's I think someone the leader of the Frost Giants. And again, it's a mythological character, so. perfect to pull from.
And I also didn't really like the designs of the frost giants. They looked like extras from Avatar with red orange eye contacts.
Again, this is what happens when you try to make things too realistic.
They were 6'7" people. They're not frost giants. They are. I believe the frost giants are like 10, 20 feet tall in the comics. They're what
I
their
mean,
names suggest.
at the very least, they didn't think it'd be funny to make them like the opposite. Oh, they're frost giants. They must be really small. Dwarves, because they're small, should be really tall. At least they didn't do
Yeah.
that. I would have,
E-tree,
kicking and
yeah.
screaming. I mean, really, they go and spend the whole episode not even talking about the Thor movie, just how much they've kind of not treated Thor as well as they should have.
Well, it's interesting to look back at what was not you can't even say a hopeful start because they kind of got some of it wrong from the beginning.
Because I feel like with Thor, it's been just constant course correcting, where they've never been able to get it right. So they're trying so hard, like, okay, you go too far left, let's go. Now let's go to the right. Oh, we went too far. We're hitting the bumper. Let's go back to the left. They can't get it
Yeah.
right.
It's not like Iron Man, they got it right. Even the first Captain America movie, they got it right. This one was always kind of teetering, and then they teeter and then they double down and then they course correct. Because I think they're not to go too far ahead again, but I think there's going to be a Thor 5, and I who knows what direction that's going to be in. But
I don't
it
think
is
anyone
it is kind
knows.
of upsetting that they never got a Thor movie right per se with the amount and endless amounts of material you could pull from.
Because I don't even because some of the decisions they made, like I don't even disagree with in some sense. Or I should say some of them. For example, in the comics, when Thor goes to Earth, it was the same thing to learn humility, but he was given that human body,
Yeah,
Donald
Donald
Blake,
Blake. Yeah,
which they completely cut out, which I completely agree with. Like, because I don't know if people
he would
know
hit an
this.
umbrella.
It was
Mjolnir
his
was
cane.
like, oh yeah, yeah, Kane, whatever.
Yeah, he was like he had a lame leg. He was a doctor, and he would like hit on the ground, and then he would turn into Thor. Like a
Yeah, what they did
I'm
in
not
the
sure what
movie was
comparison
fine.
it was, but yeah, they completely got rid of that. And even Marvel I think in the 60s they got rid of the entire Donald Blake personnel and just had him be Thor full time. Like no longer it's a guy who could turn into Thor. He's actually Thor himself.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the stuff like that, yes, I kind of agree with. People say, oh, maybe it should have been spending more time on Asgard or the other realms. For the first movie, you have to kind of have him on Earth to establish a connection why he would join the Avengers. It's just, why New Mexico? Why the most colorless place in the world? Why the most boring place in the world? You couldn't pick somewhere in Europe where I think it's more fitting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Like, even
Maybe
if you don't
maybe
want to
not
pick
on the nose Norway, but yeah, something somewhere in Europe.
maybe Germany, I mean, I know it's not what you think of in Norse mythology, but at the very least, it's close.
Yeah.
New Mexico's like the exact opposite of what you could think of.
Yeah, and it's this barren town and there's desert everywhere.
There's just sand everywhere. It's coarse and rough, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, they picked a very boring setting for the Earth stuff. And I wonder what the reasoning was why they picked New Mexico. I can
Was it
understand,
cheaper to film?
maybe, I can understand New York, obviously, California, because Tony Stark's there. I wonder what the reasoning was.
It's not like it really ties into the Avengers because he goes back to Asgard and he can't come back.
Oh, I was actually thinking this. So I wish he didn't return to Earth for a longer period of time. I know he has to come back to the Avengers, but it's really just to emphasize the sacrifice he had to make to stop Loki and destroy the Bifrost. I just wish he could have been forced to stay on Asgard a little longer.
I know what you're saying, but
I know he has to go to Earth to be on the Avengers. I know. I'm not a dummy. I'm
no,
just
no,
saying.
to
Oh,
your point, that's a very obvious thing to think of, so I think they should have just changed the ending instead.
oh, instead of destroying the Bifrost.
Have a different way where Thor can maybe make a choice, but not maybe he gets trapped on Earth instead of being trapped on Asgard.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
The point is, don't write yourself into a corner. You should think things ahead. Don't be
That is
don't be
true.
dumb.
That's a very good point.
But yeah, because even like that's that throwaway line in the Avengers, like, oh, it's how
Odin
much
sent him or whatever.
yeah, how much dark
Dark
magic,
magic. Yeah,
which is
yeah.
never touched upon again.
That is true, yeah.
And even then too, like some of the universe stuff, they introduced Hawkeye in this movie, which I don't think most people even realized he was in the movie.
Yeah, they just say Barton.
And it's like, who's Barton? I missed that, Sonny. What'd you say?
Yeah. Well, it'd been a little too on the nose if he wears that ridiculous first comic appearance design with
That
the
is
H
true.
over his face.
Well, you have to wear that. It's just the way they introduced him just wasn't memorable.
It's like a blink and you'll miss it kind of.
Yeah, which isn't the worst thing for these kinds of movies, because you don't have to have this huge introduction like, oh, well, here's the guy's going to appear in the next couple movies. I guess he appears enough where if they dropped him, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But
I personally didn't have a problem with Hawkeye. Speaking of blink and you'll miss it, remember the controversy? Well, not so much controversy, but people, there'd be so many dumb videos on YouTube saying, oh, Easter eggs you missed in Thor. There is a shot of the Infinity Gauntlet in this movie when the Destroyer attacks the two
yeah.
frost giants that are trying to break into the Asgard vault. And then they even lampoon this in Thor Ragnarok, where Hela's like, "Oh, this is fake. There's a lot of fake in the Asgard, where all the artifacts are," and she knocks it over.
Fake. Most of the stuff in here is fake.
I guess I didn't even I forgot about that, but that goes back to my earlier point of don't put in stuff if you got to think ahead. They were obviously planning for maybe not at the time of filming Thor, but why would you have a fully assembled Infinity Gauntlet in your trophy
Yeah,
room?
that's you could have more obscure references than an Infinity Gauntlet, which a lot of fans, I would assume even some casual fans, probably at least at the time heard of Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet series. So I don't know why they ever thought to do that. That's
I mean,
nuts.
it's his most famous story.
Yeah, that is
Thanos is
nuts.
so many weird choices for Thor. But then again, why would you have that in the vault? It's like six magical rocks on a glove. Oh, it's really science we don't understand. We haven't talked too much about the movie yet, but one of the things that that bothered me. So in the beginning of the movie, Odin's fighting the frost giants, and you see that he lost his eye in the fight.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Odin does have one eye, not just in the comics, but it's from the mythology. Do you know how Odin lost his eye?
I think I did know this, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
So, Odin was obsessed with knowledge.
Oh, he sacrificed an eye to gain more knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah.
fact that he lost it in some dumb battle is very eye-rolling. It's shows a very, very, very lack of understanding about Odin the character, not just in the comics, but also the mythology.
This could be an incoming. Oh well, it's based off the comic. Duh. Well, the thing is, the comics.
Or based off the mythology, so I
Yeah,
think it's entirely
you
fair
can't
to
even say
criticize.
it's inspired by the mythology. It borrows very heavily from the mythology, and obviously there's minor differences. Like I believe Thor and Loki were never brothers or stepbrother, whatever. They had no family relation with each other in
So,
mythology.
I mean, they had some relationship, but it wasn't like, oh, we're
Yeah, brothers. They weren't. That was never a thing.
because I remember they did go on some adventures together, but it was never not to the what the cop well, at least the MCU made it to be like they're secretly they're kind of the brothers, like actual brothers. They bicker,
Yeah.
but I guess they love each other deep down.
Was
Yeah.
Loki in the mythology? No, he is the son of Laufey in the mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of
Just
crazy that during Thor's coronation, Odin says, "Thor, my firstborn," and then you think about Thor 3.
But again, that line too was meant more like looking at Loki. I guess maybe Loki came first, then Thor.
Yeah.
Also a dumb retcon later on, but
All
we'll get
right,
to it when we get to it.
let's start talking about the movie, Craig. What are other things you liked or didn't like?
It's hard to say because I think the structure of like if you were to give me a synopsis of what you want to do for the movie, I think it was a good idea. Like some arrogant
Hot-headed
prince,
warrior
yeah,
prince.
warrior prince has to get humbled. But I just think they lost the way with the execution. And then he becomes humble, learns to kind of love the people he serves, but they don't really establish a lot of that. Like Thor has every right to be arrogant. He's so much better than the average human. Well, like I get why he'd be arrogant. Like if I had Thor's powers, I think I might become arrogant over time. I can get it.
He's
And
also he's a god, so
it's not even just he's Asgardian too. He's the god of thunder. He's going to be the new
king
king
of
of Asgard,
Asgard.
the protector of the Nine Realms. Earth would assumably be his subjects, so I can see why he might be a little arrogant.
Yeah.
And how he becomes less arrogant, it feels not as earned. Like he spends a few days on Earth. It's like, oh, well, my entire worldview was changed by watching people just be themselves. Like, I don't really think that's what happened.
Yeah, he gets this change of heart from evacuating New Mexico as a human.
Was even
And then,
before that when he realized he wasn't worthy to lift Mjolnir.
well, I was gonna say, I guess that was probably the big turning point was he realized that, obviously he wasn't humble enough to or be worthy enough for Mjolnir. And then also probably he thinks he was responsible for Odin's death because remember Loki just gaslights him and lies to him. That little trickster.
Well, well, it's considering what Loki's the god of, like god of mischief. Like, I don't know why you would ever trust this man.
Well, I think this is like the origin where it's before they become who they're known to be. Especially maybe Loki because they had some lines in the movie where oh Loki's a trickster but he's not he wouldn't do something as whatever they said. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the Warriors 3 had a line like that in the movie.
Oh, silver tongue turned to lead.
Yeah, they did say
I
that.
do love that line.
Yeah, and
But the thing is,
there you go.
because they even referenced this in other movies, where like when they were young, Loki was the trickster. It's like, well,
Well, that is
he's the
true.
god of.
Yeah, yeah. God of
I,
mischief.
and I know it's like, oh, that was a later movie, not this movie. But the point is that that's who Loki is. So I don't know why you'd ever believe this man.
Yeah, that is true. He always looks like he's hiding a secret. How can you trust him?
It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Oh yeah, especially with the gaslighting too. Like he gaslit him so badly.
Yeah, yeah. He got Thor pretty good.
The expert of gaslighting.
Yeah, the
But I
god of
guess
gaslighting.
because that leads to one thing I didn't like, where I think because people always like to say Whedon. I guess I know we said it too. Whedon was the impetus of all the bad jokes. So I think Thor had a lot of bad jokes.
Did it?
Well, like we were talking about the scene where Loki was gaslighting Thor, and then Thor says goodbye, and then Jesus, what's his name? Coulson walks in and goes, "Goodbye, I just got here." It's like, it's kind of an emotional scene by Thor. I don't really
That
want
wasn't
the
really
thing
a joke
undercut.
though, because that was just Coulson. I don't know. Loki's not really there, so I don't know. Coulson didn't see Loki, so that's
I
why he
know,
was
but
confused.
it's you know what they mean. Like they try to put those jokes in.
I don't really think that was a joke though.
Yes, it was. I remember
Ah,
people laughing in the theater.
well, those people laugh at anything.
That is true. They're apes, but you know what I mean.
It's okay. If that is a an eye rolling joke, that is probably one of the most least offensive of Phase One, even.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not as bad as it got to like Thor 4,
Yeah.
where the movie
Oh,
existing is a
yeah.
joke.
That movie's a parody. But even the Avengers, that's very quip heavy. That man is playing Galaga. I think in one of the videos I edited earlier, I forget which one. We're probably talking about terrible MCU humor, and I remember I had to go on Google and I found that clip and I put it in the video. I forget which one it was.
That man's playing gay.
Yeah, that man's playing Galaga. Yeah, I think with this movie though, the biggest thing is the structure and some ideas were there. It just failed in execution, and I don't know who to point the finger at because this is earlier MCU, so I feel like the directors had a little bit more wiggle than what they have now, which is nothing. So I'm curious if a lot of these decisions was Kenneth Branagh who directed it. I probably should have done more research on the development and read the Wikipedia page, but
There's actually this YouTube channel that I watch where they give a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff.
okay. I
But a
wonder.
lot of stuff we know though.
I wonder
Like yeah,
what his inspiration was on having Asgard the way it is. Because I think also it Asgard looks like, I guess maybe this is the point, like an alien high advanced civilization.
I don't think that was him. I think that was more
That was
the
Marvel.
because at that time they had this committee where they were kind of like trying to decide the future, like the structure of the MCU, which I think is important to have for something like this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that they want to have Thor be very scientific based, like the rest of the characters.
Oh,
So,
okay. They had
so
like
yeah,
floating mechanical structures when they were
yeah.
showing Asgard. Didn't really like it. Again, Marvel Alliance. I think they nailed the aesthetic of Asgard. Very Viking-y look to it, which obviously makes sense. So Norse mythology.
So I've got a hot take.
Yeah,
I think Thor's best look in the MCU is the one from Age of Ultron. Do you agree?
I'd have to look at what it looks like again. I don't remember off the top of my head.
But I think my second favorite is from the very controversial Thor Love and Thunder. Not the ugly yellow one or whatever else he wore. I think it was the one where he was defending the village and Jane shows up. It's one that has the fur on the cape.
Oh yeah, I like his design in Age of Ultron. Yeah, that's good. Oh yeah, he has no sleeves.
Yes, no sleeves, very important. But the one in Love and Thunder, he's got the fur cape, which I liked. It looked very Viking-y,
Yeah,
Viking-y.
yeah, I had the same issue. I also like his Infinity War design.
Yeah, that was good too. But that was more like Ultimate Thor.
Yeah. It's just crazy that of all the characters in the MCU, Thor is the one that has changed the most radically. And as we said earlier, the Thor movies are constant course corrections or over course corrections because they just can't get the formula right.
And it's not like they had the excuse of Hulk where they were limited by the fact he couldn't get a solo movie. So
Yeah,
it's kind of what
there weren't any rights issues.
makes the botching kind of more egregious. Because especially in phase one, where I think they, for the most part, got things fairly accurate, at least enough where, yes, I'm happy with what they did. Thor, I can't imagine like people may have liked the movie, but I can't imagine anyone was happy with the creative decisions made.
Yeah, they kind of doomed it from the start in some aspects.
All just so you can be on the Avengers.
Well, he is a founding member in the
Yeah,
comics.
I know. It just they couldn't just have him be Thor. They have to make him some weird alien.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I do not like about the movies, that they don't embrace the mythology and that he is a an actual god, god of thunder, no less.
Well, just imagine, like, say your favorite character is Iron Man, but instead of him making this highly advanced suit, it's just like a magic suit he found and just inherits or something. Like completely changing the origin of Iron Man. He's not actually like this genius. He's just some guy who got a magic suit. It wouldn't be as I don't think you would like it. It could be a good movie, but you'd be like, well, that's not Iron Man.
That's Iron Man in name only. Well, what are some
Yeah.
stuff you like? Because I know we've been going on about all the negative stuff that we don't like.
'Cause they don't make it sound a lot worse. It's stuff that's been bothering me. I need
You got to
to
get off your chest. I
Yeah.
get it.
Because again, I think the premise itself is a good idea on paper. Like, bickering brothers. The director, he's very much inspired by Shakespeare. So, brothers backstabbing the other brother, trying to
Well,
get
he's a
power.
literal Shakespeare actor. Like
Is
he's
he?
a Shakespearean trained actor, I think.
So how do you become a Shakespearean trained actor? Does like Shakespeare come and train you? Like, what's involved in becoming a Shakespearean
I
actor?
I think it's just doing plays at the Shakespeare Royal Company. I don't know, but I know
That's
he
still
is.
around?
It is. It is.
You're probably right because I know he mentioned Shakespeare, so he probably has something to do with Shakespeare.
Aha, yes. He studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. He's known for his extensive work in Shakespeare, both on stage and in film, making him synonymous with the bard's work. His career began with Shakespeare, including performances with the Royal Shakespeare Company and his own Renaissance Theatre Company, and has directed and starred in numerous Shakespeare adaptations, including Henry V, Hamlet, and Much Ado About Nothing. Craig, he also did Frankenstein. Remember when we did that? That terrible Frankenstein adaptation? He did that movie too.
Oh,
He
was that the
played
one
he
where like
played
the
Victor with
where,
Bob De Niro.
right, was he the one who was like obsessing with like his cousin?
Yes,
Yes.
that is in the book too, but yeah.
Oh, it was. Oh my God. Well, I remember in the review he was like
Well, in the
they were reveling in it, but whatever.
yeah, well in the book there's different versions of the text, but I think the one that's mostly based off of they weren't cousins. They adopted whatever her name is, I forget. They adopted her, but originally I think in the original text they were cousins. But we got off topic? What are some things you do like? What are some other things? Unless you don't
Hmm.
have any. 'Cause I can't really think of any other ones besides like the cast.
Yeah, the cast was good. I mean, the guy who plays Odin is like,
Anthony
is like
Hopkins, yeah.
is a good actor. It's funny. I remember he talked about how much he hated being in the MCU, but then he was in the horrible Transformers movie. It's like, how much do you hate the MCU to want to be in
Yes.
Transformers?
Yes, that's true. They probably got a fat paycheck doing Transformers, whatever that was, 5?
Yeah. I just can't imagine like,
Unicron. You
yeah,
remember
being,
that
oh
scene?
yeah,
Yeah.
being Odin is horrible. But like, yeah, let me be this weird old guy in Transformers 5.
Do you remember that scene where he has like a phone conversation with Seymour Simmons?
Hurry, man! They're dissolving scrotums. Let's go.
I'm going. It's very confusing talking to you.
Come on, old man.
Yeah. Then he gets shot by Galvatron or Megatron for no reason. I think he's standing like a blind man, and Megatron just shoots him.
That was probably a stipulation he had. You got to kill me in this movie. My first and only
I'm not
appearance.
coming back.
Yeah, I don't think I have any really other positives. And I guess the biggest takeaway from this video so far is that we don't hate the movie. It's really, in the grand scheme of things, especially looking back at it now, it is a missed opportunity for what they could have gotten right from the start. That they've been trying to course correct, it seems like, two, where they really could have just gotten it right from the start.
I know people might say, "Oh, it's not the point of the movie. It's not actually about the movie," and I get it. I get it. It's just the movie itself. It's just mid.
I think it's very vanilla. It's there. It's okay. It's not bold and it's not super memorable. Like there isn't an
Doesn't
exciting
jerk you
battle.
around.
It doesn't boggle the mind. There isn't like an exciting battle sequence.
Yeah, because even his battle with the Destroyer wasn't really anything special.
He destroys the destroyer. That was a dumb sentence. He beats the destroyer as soon as he comes back as
Well,
Thor.
it's really dumb. It's the name
Yeah.
just doesn't help you.
I think also when they showed God, what's it called? Where the Frost people are?
Oh God, I'm pulling a blank right now. Jotunheim.
Jotunheim, yes, yes. It was so dark and everything was all the color was toned down. And again, you contrast this to Marvel Alliance. It's snowy, yes, but it's bright. I can see what's going on in the game. I couldn't really see what was going on when they're fighting on Jotunheim.
I mean, that was probably the only decent battle in the movie, like the opening. But it's just for Thor. Because this is what I think an earlier MCU problem where they don't really want him flying around and shooting lightning. Because this is another dumb thing that bothered me. So like get my feelings out. They didn't like the fact that he could just shoot lightning. They said, well, he had to there's some sort of scientific basis for
Oh, that's
Mjolnir.
so stupid.
So he can't just shoot lightning. He has to call lightning into the hammer to store like a battery and then shoot it out.
Yeah, that's
I
dumb.
kid you not, that's exactly what their intention was.
That's dumb. That is
It's
actually dumb. He is the god of thunder.
well, he's not the god of lightning.
Oh my, yeah, shut up. Yeah, I didn't notice that. And even looking back at that, he did that in the Avengers too, when he went to the top of the Chrysler building and, I guess, summoned lightning and then shot it out. That is kind of lame. It got me all pressed over here.
And, I know the comics never really touched upon his flying goats, but of course they were never going to touch it in this movie. Like, I'm surprised they even gave him the ability to fly.
Yeah, it seemed like they were really against giving Thor his comic powers.
Because I'm not expecting him to be Superman, like,
Yeah.
lasering people to death and just snapping
Snapping
necks.
people's
But
necks, yeah.
but they were at least like show that he's strong. He's a great warrior. I don't know, because I feel like
Again,
this is
he
something
is
they
a
covered in later
god.
movies.
He is a god. And also the fight, too. I know he wasn't really trying to fight Loki at the end, but that was kind of lame, too. Do you want to talk about some of the characters now that we've been neglecting for all this time?
Well, I think we were purposely neglecting talking about Jane Foster.
I never liked her from the start. I always thought she was just bland.
I kind of agree too. Because in the comic, she was just a nurse. Because Donald Blake was a doctor, so she was like the nurse to him.
Yeah.
Florence Nightingale and all that. But I don't know. I never really cared. Especially too, like once you kind of dive a little deeper into the mythology, Thor's married.
The Sif.
Yes, so I know that it was the same thing as the comics. I get it, but it just feels weird. Like you couldn't explore his relationship with his actual wife. You have to
Yeah,
have this random
this-
nurse.
She's not even a nurse in this.
Yeah, she's a doctor in astrophysics, which is just it's part of the reason why I think we dislike her. It ties into the boringness of the movie where she's a scientist and now she's just studying magic bridges that form in the sky. I'm like, great. Gotta explain all the fun in the universe.
I think Darcy was a little much, too, with her...
Meh.
Yeah, I don't even want to say comic sensibility. It's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, but they're throwing at the sky. None of her one-liners landed. Meow meow.
I think that was in Thor: The Dark World, but it still bothers me.
No, she did it in this.
Oh yeah. It's funny. She came back for I think WandaVision.
WandaVision, yeah, she did.
I was like, oh my god, why would you bring her back?
Selvig was, he's okay.
Only with common sense, like, yeah, why on earth would you trust this jacked homeless guy? He's gonna rob
He's
you.
beating up people. He's beating up armed guards. Yeah, I did not like Jane. I never liked Jane.
And she only got worse. Can you imagine? She got worse after this.
This is true. In each movie she appears in, she gets worse. That
I
is
don't know how that's even possible.
a real statement. That is fact. She's just so boring. And she has no chemistry with Chris Hemsworth.
I feel like he's kind of like Thor's like the rebellious teenager where you tell him, Thor, don't do this. Well, like, now I'm going to do it even just to annoy you. Like, oh, I can't date a human? Well, now I'm going to date her.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great.
I think they even make a line in Thor: The Dark World where Odin says you should focus on what's in front of you, and they show Sif. And instead of
Your
whatever-
wife.
Yeah. I don't know. I never liked Jane Foster. I always thought she was bland, boring, uninteresting.
Can you imagine? And it gets worse. Like she appears in the second. I know it's not supposed to be the second, but she appears in that, and it's basically the same but worse.
Yeah.
And then in Thor: The Love and Thunder, where it's
Bring
just
the
a joke.
rainbow.
That and like she's dying of cancer.
And she makes a joke. The last thing we'll mention of that putrid movie is they very tastelessly have a joke about stage 4 cancer where Darcy says, Jane, you have stage 4 cancer. Oh, yeah. What stage is that? Like, out of how many stages? It's the worst one, Jane. Like, that's no time for a joke. Jesus.
Well, especially for someone who's supposed to be smart. Not that we're smart people, but I feel like through experiencing like how cancer's a big and kind of serious, not kind of, it is a serious thing. And for her just to be like, what, stage 4? What's that?
Yeah, and many people suffer and many families they go through that where family members die of stage 4 cancer, and you make a joke about that?
Well, to actually even know what it is, you could say, oh, she's trying to be deflect and it's for humor, but not a good look.
Yeah. The optics aren't good, bro.
Optics check.
But yeah, I think Thor itself, the movie, is just, as we said, it's bland. It's just like Jane. It's just bland. It's uninteresting.
Well, it's better than Jane. I mean, at least there's some improvement. Thor
Overall,
Ragnarok
it's
was
better than
decent.
Jane, but Jane, she's in a lot of it. She bogs it down. They
Yeah, I
just,
guess
they really just messed up with the aesthetic.
maybe what the worst part too is we're complaining about the human stuff. The best characters in the movie besides Thor was Loki and Odin.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
The Warriors 3 didn't
Asgardians.
really have too much to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really cared for them as much, but it's not that they're bad characters. I wish they would depict more of Thor's actual mythological characters.
Yeah, like Sif.
Sif, Tyr, Balder.
Valkyrie.
Well, maybe not the Valkyrie we got, but
Well, the Valkyrie from Marvel Alliance. Where
well,
you have to
yeah.
rescue her sword.
I don't know. Stuff like that always bothers me, where they have stuff to pull from. Like, nah, let me just make up characters.
So let me ask you this, because I'm sure you don't have much more positives or really any other negatives to say. As of now, of the Phase 1 movies we covered, where would you rank this? I think, dare I say, Craig, I think I might put Hulk over this.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
I think out of these movies we've seen so far, Hulk is probably the second best one. Granted, this is our fourth one, so...
To be honest, I can't say I can disagree. It's not even like this is the worst thing in the world.
No.
It's not even the movie that bothers me. It's
A lot of the
because I
decisions
like
they made.
Thor.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me. Like if we had no attachment, I'd probably rate this higher. But just knowing what they did to our boy, it's hard to co-sign that.
They just neutered him, kind of. All in the name of just trying to make it more sciencey and realistic. He's a god. Like, get out of here, Marvel. That's stupid. Embrace it.
Funny. Well, it's funny because 3 years later, the Guardians was. I know it's in space, and you could say it's supposed to be science fiction, but the stuff they have is clearly like magic. Like I don't care what you say. Infinity Stones are basically magic. There's no science basis for it. It's
Guardians
space
of the
magic,
Galaxy is not even science fiction. It's just science fantasy.
which is fine.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. Well, I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing.
But when people try to say like, oh well, like when it's like people like Star Wars is science fiction, like
It
absolutely
is not. It is Star Trek is.
Yes, Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars is science
It's
fantasy.
fantasy. It's
Yeah,
fantasy
Guardians of
that
the
takes
Galaxy is
place in
fantasy.
space.
And
I
we'll
don't
count
even
that,
think
but
that's not
no,
even
you're wrong.
controversial to say. That's just a fact.
it actually is controversial to say that about Star
Really?
Wars.
Really,
People get really upset about it, and I don't really understand why. I think it's a lack of
It is a space
mental.
fantasy.
I think it's a mental disability when they think that. But
A cognitive disability.
yeah, because I don't. It's not even. I don't know. People get upset by telling
It's
me the
not an
truth, I
insult.
guess.
It's not an insult.
It's
to
not.
say
It's just
it's-
we're trying to categorize it accurately.
Literally, Star Trek is science fiction.
Yes. I don't know. That's like, oh, the Millennium Falcon, like, oh, if you read like some handbook, it explains things scientifically. Well, that's great for you in your handbook, but it's not in the movies.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that meme of, I think they were talking about Star Wars, the rise of, what the ninth one was? I forget the name.
Is it that you found out Palpatine returned in Fortnite?
No. It wasn't that stupid thing. It was another stupid thing where I think in the book they were talking about how Palpatine had that army on that random planet, and it's like, oh, Palpatine raised them from birth, and I think it was the guy who played Frodo goes, how on earth are we supposed to know that from the movie? It's like, wow, how could we know that? You didn't tell us it. I'm pretty sure you could find the tweet and Jamie pull it up, but
Yeah. Well, do you have anything more to say about Thor, the first one?
I guess we talk about the destroyer armor real quick. How Thor just
Yeah.
destroyed it. Like it's not this unbreakable armor, and Thor breaks in 2 seconds.
Well, that's what I was saying when they first fought, or at the end when they fight. It's not even a fight.
Well, he saw it was a boring fight, which I also agree with. There's no real stakes. Like Thor basically dies, and then
He's
he
deemed
kills
worthy
him.
in death.
But it's like I think there are other ways to prove your worthiness too. I think he could have proved it by actually putting himself above. I don't think him getting hit in the face really would change anything. But whatever. I know it's a movie.
So you would say that Hulk is better than this?
Yeah. Again, it's not even that the movie's bad. It's just I don't.
I
I
think
can't co-sign what they did.
it's just a lot of it is boring. It's attributed to Jane Foster because she's just terrible.
We are not fans of Jane Foster.
We do not ship Jane Foster and Thor.
I ship Thor with his actual wife, Sif.
Sif, yeah.
What a controversial take I'm making.
Genuinely, before we conclude, did anyone ever like Jane Foster?
In the comics?
No, in the movies, the movie Jane Foster. I'm just gonna say that I'm under the impression that a lot of people don't like Jane. I don't like her. She's boring.
Well, it didn't help that they're like we talked about before. They had no
setting,
chemistry.
yeah, there's no chemistry. The setting they're in is very barren. I think Thor, the first one as a movie, is just there. It's unremarkable. It exists. It's not
Yeah.
offensive. It's not bad. It exists.
Oh, the other character the one mythological character they focus on is Heimdall, and he's just the doorman for
Oh
Asgard.
yeah, yeah, I forgot about him.
I know, like, you forget like weird characters they choose to focus on. I don't think they focus on because they casted a big name for the actor.
Yeah, Idris Elba.
Otherwise he would have been a. I remember reading that he hated that he got casted as Heimdall. Not because he hated the role, is more so he wanted to play other bigger names, and he's like, well, now I can't because I'm already playing Heimdall.
Well, he could have just rejected the offer. He does know he can do that, right?
I guess hindsight they say is 2020 or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else on Thor?
I think I'm all tapped out.
Yeah, it's not the worst, but I think when we finish phase one, it's probably the second worst movie. And
Really? You said second worst?
yeah, I think Iron Man 2 is still the worst. Well, you think this is the worst? Ooh.
I thought you were saying that before. I was like, oh,
No, phase one.
I know, but I thought you said you would rank Thor last. I thought I
No,
heard
no,
that.
no. I think early on I said I don't know what I said. I think if you're listening to the end, this is slightly better than Iron Man 2, and that's it. I think all the other ones are better than this. I think in the Infinity Saga, it is one of the weakest. And obviously, it's better than we'll get to eventually Thor 2. It's not saying much. But
Thor 4.
yeah. But I don't really like this one. It's okay.
It's again, it's not so much the movie is bad.
It's just the creative decisions they made.
And I'm not strong enough to separate the movie from my feelings about it because I think it really affects the movie. It's not like, oh, they changed Thor's eyebrow color from yellow to brown. It's actually affected the movie what they did.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got Thor kind of wrong from the start, and it's been a little bit of a mess since. But I don't know what our episode's going to be next week, Craig, but it's not going to be an MCU movie. I know that. So, barring any other final thoughts, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. I'm Colin.
Craig.
And we will see you next week.